Well, Heidi ho, everybody. Here we are again. I am Caleb Jones. This is the Sovereign CEO podcast. And I show people just like you how to develop a location independent business, ideally multiple businesses, how to move to a less bad country, or at least set up an international plan B, and do all those things for very little money. Because I think that regardless of your income, a lot of you want to escape the collapsing Western world, and you shouldn't have to be a seven-figure income earner to do it. And you don't need to be. That's the good news. I usually don't comment on topical news items. I know that there are a lot of guys who have podcasts and or YouTube channels where that's all they do, and it's an easy way to get clicks and traffic. Unfortunately, I don't do that, so I actually have to provide content and value beyond that. But as you may or may not be aware, Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos was recently found guilty. If you don't know who that is, this is a woman who started a company. This is a woman who was born very wealthy into a wealthy family and was part of a wealthy social circle, and made a company where she said, and it was a lie, that she had a device that could test a single drop of blood for multiple diseases. And she basically lied to everybody, talking about how this product was working and or not working or what have you. It's not that just she tried to do something and it failed. That's normal in Silicon Valley. She actually lied to everybody about this. She's a piece of shit. She's probably a sociopath. Matter of fact, there's plenty of YouTube videos where she actually fakes her voice. She's a woman and she talks like this, and her voice sounds very weird, even though she's this tiny white blonde girl. And so apparently she's been purposely making her voice sound lower so people will take her more seriously or something. Anyway, like I said, this is a sociopath. And in this podcast, I'm going to talk about ethics and morals, specifically as applies to business. There are other corollaries to this, how you interact with people, certainly how you interact with women, if you follow my Alpha Male 2.0 content, because I do get questions about this. I've written one or two articles on the topic of morals and ethics, but I have a take on this that is kind of different and unique, I think. First, before we get into the meat of this stuff, it's interesting to note how stupid very, very wealthy people are. There are a lot of very, very, very wealthy people who are really stupid when it comes to their money. If you learn anything from this Elizabeth Holmes thing and from the Bernie Madoff thing, there are people with shitloads of money, who are really stupid with their money. That's why a lot of these people are like, oh, okay, a bunch of super ultra wealthy people lost a bunch of money. Oh, boo-hoo. Well, fine, but it's interesting to note that just because you have a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean you're good at money. I have noted that Warren Buffett, who is an investor genius, certainly the greatest investor who has ever lived, probably. When he talks about political or economic topics, he's like a 5-year-old. He doesn't make any sense. He's terrible. But you would think this self-made multi-billionaire, totally self-made guy, genius level when it comes to investing in companies, would know about politics and would know about economics. And no, I've written articles about that. So, and you could also look at a lot of these people. I'm not sure about Theranos, but certainly in the Bernie Madoff case, these are people who are like famous musicians and famous actors and people who inherited their wealth and people who accumulated their wealth, not because they were really good at accumulating wealth in a business, but through other means. And certainly the Elizabeth Holmes thing, she got a lot of these investors through people she knew, and basically, like famous politicians or famous people would just say, hey, you need to invest in her company. And they go, okay. And they would give her, $10 million, $100 million. And at one point, that her company was valuated, her bullshit company was valuated at, well over $1 billion. And people were hailing her as the youngest self-made female billionaire in history, which was all bullshit. She wasn't. So that's an interesting thing to note and remember. Just because someone is very good at one thing doesn't mean they're good at other things. This is one of the reasons why I've gone out of my way to not discuss topics that I'm asked about that I'm not an expert in. I am regularly asked by you guys on my opinions regarding certain topics that I have no training in, no results in, no education on, I've done no research on. And so I will have to say, I don't know. That's not my area. I wish I could help you. I don't know. To this day, guys still ask me about how to do day game. There are guys who ask me how to lose weight. Okay, you probably shouldn't ask me these questions. I am not an expert in these areas. Just couldn't tell you. And that's why I don't want to be one of these people who just, talks out of his ass on any topic he gets asked about, because I know that just because I'm good at 1, 2, 3 things doesn't mean I'm necessarily good at 14 different things. I'm not. No one is, I don't think. So let's get to the topic of morals and ethics. I have discussed this at my blogs many years ago. I will go into more detail now. Let's temporarily move business from this conversation, just cover morals and ethics in general. I believe in ethics. I do not believe in morals. What? Right. What is the difference between morals and ethics? Morals is societal programming that is generated from outside you that is forced upon you. Ethics is something that is generated from within you that you express outwardly. Okay? For example, I'll give very easy examples. Morals would be a right-wing traditional conservative who says, you shouldn't have premarital sex because it's not right and it's a sin and it's immature and you shouldn't do it because this book called the Bible, which was written thousands of years ago and edited thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times, says it's not a good thing. Therefore, it's not a good thing. I have no scientific data to back up everything I'm saying, but I don't care. You shouldn't have premarital sex. If you want to have sex, you have to go to your government and sign a contract. Then you can have sex, and then it makes sense. Oh, traditional conservatives are so funny. Christ. Okay, those are morals. Premarital sex is immoral, right? These are things coming from outside you, from societal programming, the vast majority of which is false. If you read my book, The Unchained Man, you know why. This is societal programming of people's opinions telling you what they think is immoral. Now, if you think, and most people do, that this is just a right-wing thing, a conservative or religious thing, you are wrong. Left-wingers can be just as moralistic as right-wingers. As a matter of fact, in many cases, they're worse. So an example of that would be you're at a restaurant with a group of people and you order your cheeseburger and you bite in your cheeseburger, and some psycho left-wing vegan goes, oh my God, you're eating that burger? Do you know what they do to cows? Do you know how they treat those cows? Do you know how you're hurting the environment from the cow farts? That is just as moralistic as the psycho conservative right-winger who says don't have premarital sex because it's immoral because the Bible says so. It's just as stupid and just as irrational. I have talked about in the past how you can have two types of atheists. You can have normal atheists, who I like, and you can have religious atheists. And people say, you can't be religious if you're an atheist. Wrong, 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 wrong. There are atheists who, when you know them, you have no idea they're atheists. You can know them for 3 years, and you have no idea they're atheists because they never mention it, because they don't blab about it in your face, right? They just don't care. Then you have atheists who throw it right in your face every time you talk to them, as soon as you meet them. Hey, my name is Joe. By the way, I'm an atheist. You don't believe in God, do you? That's stupid. There are atheists like this who are basically, atheism is their religion. There are vegans who are religious vegans. Veganism is their religion. And so you can have moralistic left-wingers, you can have moralistic right-wingers. In both cases, it is something external that is being forced upon you from an external source that's not coming from you. Make sense? That's morals. I don't believe in morals at all. I have no morals. I have ethics. I have no morals. I have ethics. And this comes from a guy who was raised Catholic. I've been to Catholic church. We call it Mass. Thousands of times, because I was forced to go when I was a kid many times a week. And I went to a Catholic school and my mom was a nun and blah, blah, blah. On top of that, later in life, my parents were left-wingers. And so I come from that world too. I was raised in the Pacific Northwest, one of the most left-wing places in the entire Western world. And so I have a lot of access to both of these levels of societal programming. That's where morals come from. Ethics is something that comes from inside you. Now, because it comes from inside you, does it mean it's objective? Not necessarily. You could be wrong. You're a flawed human being. But your odds are much better having something come from within you than it is coming from some outside source who may have weird motives, who you don't know they're basing these things on, who may not be based this on any science whatsoever. At least with ethics, you can look at yourself, look inwards, look at what I call a personal code, which is what I talk about in The Unchained Man, alphamalebook.com. Where you set up a set of rules for yourself in terms of your own conduct based on your past experience, based on maybe your upbringing, maybe, and based on, if you can do it, scientific data. For example, one of the parts of my personal code in terms of my personal ethics is that I can't lie. I can't sit here and tell you something I know isn't true. Now, I can avoid answering questions. I can refuse to answer questions. I'm great at that. That's fine. Not answering a question is not lying. It's not answering the question. Are you still sleeping with other women? I'm not going to answer that question. That's not lying. Lying would be, you are sleeping with other women. You go, no, that's lying. I cannot do that. I can't lie to you. I can't lie to anyone I work with. I can't lie to any women in my life. I can't lie to my friends. I can't lie to my family. I will not lie. And I have gotten in trouble a few times, including recently, where I refused to lie about something. And I got in trouble. Sometimes you get in trouble when you refuse to lie about things. So I don't lie. I can't do it. Now, again, that doesn't mean I have to disclose everything. That doesn't mean I have to answer questions. I can dodge questions. I can refuse to answer questions. I could be sarcastic and silly. That's not lying. That's sarcasm. But I can't tell you something I know for a fact isn't true and be serious about it. I can't do it. It's part of my personal ethics. And the reason I came up with that is because I know from seeing politicians, famous people, people I've worked with, people I've known in my life, family members, when you lie, especially if you do it over and over again, you eventually get caught. Eventually something happens down the road that causes an explosion. I've talked about this in terms of woman stuff in my Alpha 2.0 content. If you lie to a woman you're dating, it doesn't prevent drama. That's what guys think. Guys think of, well, if I lie to her, she won't yell at me, right? Are you having sex with a woman? No. Oh, good. She goes, okay, good. And you go, whew, dodged a bullet there. No, you have not prevented the drama. You have simply pushed the drama into the future and exacerbated it. So if the drama you would have received on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 7, what you've done is you've pushed it 6 months into the future and made it into a 10. That's what lying does. It happens in business. It happens in interpersonal relationships. It happens everywhere. So that's why I don't lie. I did not come up with this rule of not lying because some moralistic priest or some angry left-winger wagged their finger in my face and said, you shouldn't lie. Hasn't happened. Now, certainly that is one of the 10 commandments, but even the 10 commandments is a good example of morals. If you look at the 10 commandments, about 5 of them make sense. Don't kill people. Yeah, that makes sense. Don't steal stuff. That makes sense. Yes. Don't bear false witness. Yes, that means don't lie. Yes, those are all good. But then you have, thou shalt not worship false idols. Well, why not? You should be able to worship whatever the hell you want. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. What's wrong with that? I think my neighbor's wife is hot. I'm not allowed to, what the fuck? So that's my point. The 10 commandments is a good example of morals. Now, does that mean I've rejected all 10 commandments? No, I haven't. I've integrated a few of them. I'm not going to murder anyone. I don't lie, things like that, because I use my own ethical center to make these decisions rather than something I was told to make. Now, you could hear that and you could say, but wait a minute, what if you're wrong? What if you come up with an ethical rule and you're wrong? You could be wrong. That's what life experience is all about, and that's also what research is all about. Research it. Do your research. Read. Figure this out. And experience life. Go around lying to everybody, and then go around telling the truth. And watch what happens over time to your happiness. And again, happiness often takes time to measure. Let's go back to the don't have premarital sex thing. If I didn't have any premarital sex throughout my life, I would be miserable. I would not be very happy at all. I've had a lot of premarital sex. Like a lot. I'm Black Dragon. A lot. And it made me very happy. Now, I did it appropriately. Things like condom usage. Things like not having sex with women who are drunk you just met at a bar. Things like don't go to Colombia and get some random hooker and let her spend the night in your apartment when you don't know who she is and you wake up, your wallet is gone. I don't make those kinds of stupid mistakes. Okay. Again, I have rules around my behavior. I don't just say I can't have premarital sex because this angry right-wing conservative over here says it's immoral when he can't give me any basis in reality for what he's saying. And again, I have a feeling I'll get someone in the comments who is a more right-wing conservative person who says, well, it is wrong. If you have sex with 100 people, then I'm not talking about the number of people how you have sex with. I'm talking about whether or not you have sex before getting a legal contract called a marriage, which is fucking stupid anyway. Talk about something external. The entire concept of TMM, traditional monogamous marriage, is something that comes from society. Did you sit down one day and say, you know what would be best for me? You know what would be best for me? I'm going to move in with a woman, sign a contract where if we break up for any reason, even if it's not my fault, even if she decides it, I have to pay her half my money or I go to prison. Did you come up with that system? No, you were told externally, right? That a moral man gets married. Now let's bring this into the realm of business. And here's the bottom line of business ethics. You can make money by being unethical in business. You can't keep money long-term by being unethical in business. So I've used this example before. I have personally seen, and I've met 1 or 2 of these people who were very unethical, shitty, unethical as in dishonest thieves who started companies, ripped off their customers. And in some cases, they do make some money initially. Initially. Do they keep their money? No. Do they keep their business? No. I saw this throughout my entire consulting career. I've seen this, not many times, but I've seen this enough times to learn, okay, when I start my business, I had this thought back then, when I start my business or what have you, I better be super ethical because I don't want to make a hunk of money in 6 months or a year and then lose it all. Like what happened to Elizabeth Holmes and Bernie Madoff, right? They made a whole bunch of money in the short run and then they got in trouble and then they went to jail. When I talk about Sovereign CEO and Alpha Male 2.0, I'm talking about long-term happiness. You cannot be long-term happy if you're an unethical person. You cannot make money long-term in the business world if you're unethical. Now, there are one or two exceptions. I'll get to in a second because I know I'm going to hear, well, what about such and such? I'll give you the exception in a minute, but the exceptions prove the rule. Exception to the rule. You cannot make and maintain money long-term by being unethical in business. The exceptions would be people who are very, very highly connected to government. Unfortunately, the United States is a corporatist economy. So you have people in business who are tied into government at very high levels who do indeed get away with making a lot of money long-term because they have government protection. Does that describe you? No. Does that describe me? No. 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 You're on your own. You start your business. It's your business. You're on your own. You're in the true free market. You don't have any powerful politician friends or family members. And if you do, I doubt you'd be listening to this podcast. So you have to be ethical if you want to maintain your money. You have to. You have no choice. Unless you literally don't care. Unless all you want to do is make a hunk of money in the next 6 months and then not make any money after that. I don't know why you'd want that. But that's how this works. The only way to maintain a strong income and to retain your wealth as a business owner is to have 100% business ethics. That means several things. Number one, you can't lie to people, in my opinion. You can't lie to clients. You can't lie to customers. When you advertise things, you have to be honest. You have to say, this will do this, it won't do this. On a regular, semi-regular basis, I will get emails from guys saying, hey, I'm looking at this course that you have that I want to purchase. Does it do this? Or does it address this topic? And if it doesn't, I say, no, it doesn't address that topic. And if that's the number one topic you want out of this course, you shouldn't buy my course. Regularly, I send emails like that. And of course, I say, sometimes I'll say, yes, that is exactly one of the topics it discusses. If that's a topic for you, get my course. Yes, but I'm ethical and I'm honest. I don't want to steer people the wrong way. And I have to do that because I want to retain my income over the long haul of my life. Number two is you have to honor guarantees and refunds. So in my Black Dragon business, in terms of my ebooks that I sell, I have a lifetime guarantee. You can buy a book from me in 10 years, ask for your money back, and you'll get it. If you wait 10 years, I think you're a piece of shit, but we will give it to you. And we honor those things. On my courses, some of them have a 30-day guarantee, some of them have a 62-day. It depends the course. It depends the launch. But whenever someone asks for their money back, as long as they're within the parameters we stated on the website, and we follow those parameters, we honor that. You have to honor that if you want to be long-term ethical in your business, if you want to maintain long-term income in your business. Ethics also means that you treat your employees, and again, Alpha Male 2.0 business structure does not have employees. You have subcontractors, but I call them employees or staff. You have to treat them honorably and respectfully. You have to pay them as much as you're able to pay them. You can't lie to them. You have to be nice to them, right? And if you have someone who is unethical on your staff, you need to eject that person immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts. If there's an unethical person you're working with, you need to terminate the relationship as quickly as possible. That has only happened to me throughout my entire business career, I think twice, where I was working with someone on a subcontractor type basis, and I found that this person was being very unethical, even if it had nothing to do with me. I immediately terminated the relationship and moved on. I can't have any unethical people in my business sphere. I don't want that poison in my businesses. I want my businesses to make a lot of money long-term for the rest of my life, not just short-term. Something else this extends to in business is taxes. You can't lie on your taxes. I know a lot of you guys are doing stuff like that. I don't do that. I don't lie on my taxes. I am 100% honest and sometimes to a fault. I've talked about this before. I have done tax returns where I paid someone to prepare tax returns. Then I pay another attorney or accountant to do my tax returns again or to double check the tax returns to make sure I'm not breaking any laws. You cannot lie on your taxes because, and I've talked about this on the Unchained Man, if you lie on your taxes and get caught, you're going to lose your money. You're going to get fined. And if you're not careful, you're going to go to fucking prison. Ask Wesley Snipes about that. So you can't. So when I say don't lie, I'm talking about globally in terms of everything you're doing. Your interactions with your government, your interactions with your staff, your interactions with your clients, your customers, all those people. Your interactions with your vendors, you can't lie to them either. You need good vendors. And if you're lying to your vendors and your vendors hate you, word gets around and you'll have trouble finding good vendors. And again, I've seen people do this. I've seen business owners treat their vendors like crap, not treat them like crap, but lie to them. By the way, let me take it aside there. Ethics doesn't mean you're a nice guy, okay? It doesn't mean you're not demanding. I learned from one of my mentors, Dan Kennedy, be very demanding of people who take your money. So you can be a dick, you can be demanding, you can raise your voice and be an asshole. I don't do that. But you can be those things if you want, as long as you're ethical. Dan Kennedy talked about how his objective is when you leave the room, your vendors, your employees, what have you, they know you're honest and they know you're fair, but they also think you're kind of an asshole or kind of a son of a bitch, is what he said. Right, because you're demanding. So that's okay. Being ethical does not mean you're a pussy. Being ethical does not mean you're a beta. That's not what I'm talking about. It just means you're following a code of ethics. You can be an alpha male, you can be loud, you can be abrasive, you can be demanding, you can even be rude. No, I'm not rude, but you could be. As a matter of fact, I have worked with clients and customers throughout the course of my business career who were total assholes. Very difficult to work with. They would scream and yell and swear at you and call you names, but they were honest, they were ethical, so I worked with them. I didn't care. I'm Malcolm Independent. So if you're a total fucking prick, I don't care. Now, today it's a little different because today I can be very picky. Today I'll make a lot more money, and so if I have a customer who insults me over email or insults something on my staff, that customer is gone forever, goodbye. If I have a client in my consulting practice who is a shithead, they're out the door because these days I can afford to be very picky. But what I'm saying is you can work with people who you may not like as long as they're ethical, and the same goes for you. Now, obviously, if you're ethical and you're a nice person, you'll get farther, but I'm saying you don't have to be. Don't mix up ethics with being a pushover or a beta or a pussy or a wimp. Not talking about that. I don't think anyone would accuse me of being a beta male or a pussy or a wimp, right? But I'm ethical. I don't want to end up like Elizabeth Holmes or Bernie Madoff or various other people on the internet I could name who I won't. I want long-term money. Here's another thing in terms of business ethics that I've followed. I've mentioned this a little earlier, and I've talked about this before, is that I don't teach things unless I have personally done them. Because I could name a lot of people, including some big name people, who are teaching things they've never done. And when they teach things they've never done, their content sucks. And so I will not teach it unless I have personally done it. Now, good news for me is I've done a lot. I'm an old man. I've lived a very vivid, exciting life, and so I've done a lot of things. So I can teach a lot of things, kind of nice. But I will not teach things I haven't done. And there have been many, and I mean this, many opportunities in my past where I could have made a decent amount of money teaching certain people or certain companies or certain individuals or certain groups things that I had never personally done. They were begging to give me money and I said no. That's what ethics is about. Even if money is being waved in your face, you still say no. I have been in scenarios, 2 that I can remember, where I was offered a decent amount of money to do something illegal in the business world. Nothing that would hurt anyone or horrible, but something that was definitely illegal. And I said no, because I'm not going to break the law. I'm not going to take that risk. And one of these 2 times, the money was not significant money, but it was enough money for me to go, ugh, that's a lot of money. This would be really easy to do. But I still said no, because I have to have business ethics. I cannot sacrifice my ethics to take that money to have an explosion down the road. This all goes back to something I talked about in the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast several months ago, where I'm always thinking ahead. I'm always thinking myself 5 years in the future. So right now I'm 49 years old. I am thinking a lot about my 54-year-old self. And I want him to live an amazing, very happy, smooth life. I don't want that guy to have any problems. That's why I have to be 100% ethical, not only in my businesses, but in all my dealings with everyone I know. Now, let me say something else. Being 100% ethical doesn't mean you're not human and you don't make mistakes. You can make errors. I've made all kinds of errors. It doesn't mean you never piss people off. It doesn't mean you might say something that is hurtful. It doesn't mean you might make a mistake and screw something up on someone else's stuff. That can also happen, but it has nothing to do with ethics. That's just human fallibility, right? I'm talking about things you do wrong on purpose. That's unethical. And again, none of this has to do with morals. Now, you could argue that, well, Caleb, your ethics were probably formulated by your morals. So Caleb, you were raised in a Catholic household, and you were probably taught morals that were the basis for some of your ethics. Yes, that is accurate. For example, not Christian stuff or Catholic stuff, but for example, when I was a little kid, this is a perfect example of this, because the upbringing is a big component of this. You're right. We were, let's see, I don't remember exactly the scenario. My dad and I were walking down the street, and this is in the 80s, and there was a bunch of food outside of a grocery store or like a convenience store. There were like candy bars and fruit and outside the store, and there was no one out there. There was no clerks out there. And my dad actually weren't walking. We were standing waiting around for something. And I remember asking my dad, this is when I was a little kid, I was probably, I don't know, 9 years old, 10 years old, I don't remember, 7 years old, who knows. And I asked my dad, I said, there's no one out here watching the food. He says, that's right. And I said, well, I could just take a candy bar and put it in my pocket and no one would know. So why not do that? And my dad said, I would never do that because I would know. Over at my Alpha Male 2.0 YouTube channel, I have an entire interview with my dad. You're welcome to watch that. It's about half an hour long. My dad has ethics. My dad is a very ethical man. And so yeah, certainly, obviously that made an impact on me because I remember that 45 years later. I remember him saying that. And I really thought about that. I went, oh yeah, if I knew, I would feel shitty, and I don't want to feel shitty, so I guess I shouldn't steal. There you go. So yes, your upbringing and your external factors as you're formulating yourself as a man or as a woman, if you're a woman listening to this, throughout your childhood and your adolescence does have an effect on your ethics. But again, I made the decision in my early 20s to do this or to not do this. I didn't say I better do this because my dad will be mad at me, which is what a lot of you Asian guys and Indian guys are guilty of. You're assuming an ethical, or should I say moral model based on what your parents are telling you or your religion is telling you or your society or culture is telling you rather than what you are telling you. Even if you're raised with certain values, you still, usually around late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, have to be a man or a woman and sit down and say, okay, what are my personal code of ethics? Not what my dad wants me to do. Yes, that can be an influencing factor. But do I validate these things that my dad taught me or not? And if not, why am I not validating them? If I am validating them, why am I validating them? Now, notice my dad did not say, don't steal. Stealing is immoral. That would have just gone right over my head. I just would have just rolled my eyes. And maybe I would have just grabbed a candy bar because that's fucking stupid. Instead, he gave me a specific reason, an objective, rational reason why you shouldn't steal. Because you would know you're a thief. And you would have that in your head the rest of your life. Perfect. If you have not yet read it, I strongly suggest you go to alphamalebook.com. It's only $7. That's The Unchained Man. I have an entire chapter in there on developing your personal code, your code of conduct, your code of ethics. And I go through detail on how to formulate that. It might help a lot of you. And I think it's very important long-term, especially as the Western world continues to collapse, especially as more and more people are going to be more unethical, because you're going to see a lot more unethical behavior over the next several years/decades than you've ever seen before in the Western world. Get ready. And so it's even more important to maintain that ethical center when you live in a fallen and collapsing world, at least in my opinion. Hope this has helped. See you in the next podcast. Have fun. Bye.